another episode of Resilient Minds. We are at South Carolina Alliance of Black School Educators. And who am I speaking with today?
Dr. Gregory McCoy. I'm an educator with 30 plus years in experience both in South Carolina and in Georgia.
Before your title, who were you?
So before my titles, any titles, I was the proud son of Helena McCord. I want to be sure I put that out there. But my experiences and my background led me to the point in my life where I knew that my upbringing would somehow come into play for what I wanted to do for the future. Growing up in a single-parent home in about 14 different, I call them government assistant living environments, I was able to build the type of resilience needed to be free of gangs, free of drugs, free of crime and criminal activity. And I just used what I learned growing up for leadership in life.
What originally pulled you into education?
So I got into education accidentally. And what I mean by that is I started out going to law school and started substitute teaching. Had a good time substitute teaching, spent some time with some young people with a mentoring program that I began. And just my conversations with them led me to believe that this is what I should be doing. In fact, one of them actually said that to me. He said, "This is what you are supposed to do. Leave the other stuff alone." And this was a kid talking to me. I was maybe 23 at the time, and it opened my eyes up because it said to me, hey, I don't think I had this type of relationship with someone when I was coming up, and I enjoyed it, and I haven't looked back since.
Resilience, what does that mean to you?
When I hear the word resilient, I think about someone that knows how to overcome adverse situations at all times, under pressure, without fail.
I love it. What does it actually look like in students for you? Not in theory, but in life.
Seeing a student be resilient would be me understanding and recognizing where a student's struggles are. Some students do well naturally because of their environment, because of their background, because of their circumstances. And then you have others who genuinely have to struggle because they're dealing with life issues at an age that's premature of what they're currently living. And so when I know a student's situation and I see them overcome barriers, hurdles, obstacles, and still be able to make it through to the other side, I call them resilient.
Transparently, I was one of those at-risk kids that I was a trouble kid. I'm from Miami, Florida. And, I experienced a lot of hardship. By the time I graduated high school, I lived in 22 different homes. I was on my own at the age of 13. And I really realized as an adult how important it was for me to get some type of help, support, and guidance, especially as it relates to mental health and emotional support. I never got that, right? I never got, any guidance in terms of dealing with mental instabilities and emotional instabilities. How important do you think today it is to be able to plant those seeds in young people?
So grew up with similar environments, it sounds like, and that's a plus. But I want to say this now. All students are at risk. We sometimes tend to label those coming from environments like ours as being at risk only, when the reality is all kids are at risk. If you're in a nuclear family or a single parent home or being reared by your grandparents, all it takes is for a change of events and you are now at risk. To your question about mental health and the importance of it, we didn't believe in it when we were coming up, and so it's been difficult for us to accept that that is a reality that we must face.
Teaching for 4 years, my first year in teaching, I actually started my mental health agency, and during that journey of those 4 years, the students are actually what changed me, right? I mentored a lot of young people, and that's when I really identified the instabilities and the lack of structure and the lack of consistency and the things that were actually holding the young people back, which essentially prepared what I'm doing today on the Adversity University, which is a mental health education platform for personal growth and guidance, with the focus on goal setting and accountability. Basically, we teach positive thinking, living habits that individuals can easily receive, digest, and apply to their lives. What does adults often get wrong about how young people handle stress?
I think we take for granted that young people, we hear this often, young people are resilient, which just is another way of them saying they'll figure it out when they figure it out. And that's actually the wrong approach to take, because young people are not resilient for the things that we oftentimes think that they are. They actually need care and concern, and most importantly, the proper guidance to get them to the other side of thinking so that they won't misapply what they believe to be right in the wrong situation.
You giving some real game right now. Right. So, what's the hardest part about leading students and staff right now that people outside of education don't see?
Accountability is not what people sometimes think that it is. And what I mean by that specifically is everyone wants to be held accountable only when it's not for them. So they want accountability when it's not for them. And the reality of it is that exists in most situations, especially in the educational structure, is everyone has a role to play. It's called a system. When the system is in place and it's being implemented properly, then accountability is being followed, and no one is to blame for your shortcomings other than yourself. But we live in a world today where everyone quickly looks to shift blame or divert blame in other areas to take the attention off of themselves.
Was there a moment in your leadership journey that changed how you view mental health or resilience?
So, in my lifetime in education, I've seen so many students struggle and not really fully understand that the struggle was not internal. When I say internal, it wasn't related to school, but it was external, things going on in their lives outside of school. And so putting systems in place to help them, to include resources, to include the proper people, the proper channels, avenues and venues for them to vent. Until we put those things in place, I don't think I ever really paid attention to it like I do now.
But you keep saying systems, right? You keep saying put things in place, which equates to structure, consistency. Because everything that you said is everything that we do, especially with programming, putting systems in place, not only just for the young people to go through, but also systems to be able to, educate the leadership on the framework and the things that they need to do to deliver the program, not only with fidelity, right, but with knowledge and understanding, not just for those young people, but for themselves, right? Because those adults, right, were once young people who was lost and might still be lost. We take for granted, right? We think that just because people are on certain levels and have certain titles that they got it all together until we figure out they don't.
You cut them deep with that one. And I say that because you're 100% correct. Many times we have adults in front of kids that have not yet fully healed themselves. And in their healing, they think they're doing the right thing when in fact they're worsening the problems for students. And so and when you talk about systems, as I do again, having something that guides both young and not so young is a part of an effective system.
Man, listen. Hey, I love it. What actually helps students build resilience beyond assemblies and slogans?
One-on-one conversations with the right people, having a safe space to talk, vent, share, having someone that's going to be compassionate and listen, not necessarily look to solve or resolve, and then instilling in young people the will to not give up. It's easy to give up now, especially for young people, because they don't see themselves down the road. And it's hard for us as adults to understand why they don't see themselves down the road because we've lived through that. They're actually living in it. And so having a good mindset that I'm going to create the space, and what you do with it, I'm going to guide you as best I can, but what you do with it will be what you do with it. But I'm here on the other side when you're ready.
I love it. Now, how much of student resilience come from adult modeling rather than programming?
Yeah, I can't quantify that because, again, my resilience comes from watching my mother. My kids' resilience doesn't necessarily come from watching me because I'm just a reflection of her. And so for it to be authentic, I think it's going to depend on where they are. Another way of me saying that is we went through a struggle so that our kids won't have to go through a struggle. But if kids don't sometimes go through some struggles, which I think they all should, they may not ever fully appreciate what it means to struggle.
This is true. I'm big on kids need to make mistakes. Like I encourage making mistakes. I encourage looking at failure as an opportunity to learn and grow from, right? Because if you don't, then you're just going to sit in it. And when you sit in it, that yields resentment, that yields frustration, that yields depression, that yields anxiety. These are all things that most people don't even recognize or understand.
Right.
So now that you're sitting in it and you're not overcoming it, you're not coping with it, that leads to more severe mental instabilities and emotional instabilities, right? We got to get individuals to understand what resilience is. My definition of resilience is the ability to advance in life despite the hardships and the adversity that you're currently dealing with or you dealt with in the past. Can't lock on what's behind us. We got to have a target. As long as we have a destination and a goal to get there and a plan, then success is really just right around the corner. So success and adversity go hand in hand.
And when you talk about tripping over things that are behind you, it takes a special type of talent to do that. Unfortunately, there's some people with that skill set to do it. And so you have to get them to understand that what's behind you will never be repaired until we look at what's in front of you. To start with the present, look at what's in front of you, and then press this way. So it's kind of like golf. When you play golf, and I just finished 2 books talking specifically about golf and the lessons that you learn from golf that apply to life. When you hit a bad shot in golf, that shot is over. Nothing you do is going to change that. Nothing you do is going to erase it. Nothing you do is going to get you prepared for the next shot until you release that shot. And so you go from shot to shot until you complete a hole. And you want to do that in as few shots as possible. In order for you to get to a point where you can do that, your mind has to be clear. You accept the good shots the same as you do the bad shots, and you continue to move forward, press forward, preparing for what's later on down the road.
Okay, what's a small shift that schools can make that will have a big impact on students' well-being?
I'm seeing more and more school districts understand the importance of making sure the adults are well. I think that's a huge first step. If we can make sure the adults are well, we'll be able to properly care for the kids.
What do resilient kids need most from adults right now?
A listening ear, a non-judgmental listening ear, a non-judgmental listening ear that's not looking to solve or resolve, but do just what I said in the beginning, a non-judgmental listening ear.
I do want you to, speak more about your product and your book because I think that is brilliant. You speak about golf. Golf is life. And I think that a lot of people need to understand that. You spoke about it just a minute ago, but I want you to get a little deeper as it relates to what you're doing with your books, your products, and your service.
Well, people can check out the books on The Patch Kid. That's THEPATCHKIDD.com, thepatchkid.com. And you can find out about the books there. But the biggest thing about the books that I like for people to know is it's not just about preparing kids to learn how to play golf. It's about preparing kids to gain exposure and access to a world that's beyond them. And when I say kids, I'm talking more specifically and particularly kids of color. We hear the same old things about golf. It's boring, it's for non-whites, it's expensive. All of these can be true, but they don't have to be true. What I want to see us do is create more opportunities for that exposure by taking kids to the golf course, letting them learn the game, letting them learn how the game and the rules apply not just to golf, but to life, because with that comes conversations with people from different races, people from different walks of life, people with different perspectives. From that comes growth. You don't necessarily have to mimic or emulate everything that you see and hear from others, but the more you see, the more you hear, the more diverse the conversations, the more you have to pull and draw from when it comes time for you to make your own decisions. And that makes you more well-rounded. The people that you meet and the conversations you have can propel you into the life that you want to live as a good person, an honest person, a person with integrity, a person that knows how to give genuine care, concern, and respect for their fellow man. That's all you can ask for.
I love it. I love it. From a personal standpoint, you spoke about all the accolades that you had in golf. I want you to speak to that because I think people need to hear that from a person such as yourself. Right?
Accolades are, again, those things in the past. So I don't get gassed up on them. But I do sometimes think about my journey and how it started as a person who grew up in government assisted living homes, 14 different situations. Got caught stealing at the golf course, had an opportunity to work there in lieu of the alternative. Being in that space created something to me that I did not know existed. I started playing golf. I was good enough to get a college scholarship, Livingstone College, LC baby, North Carolina. We happened to have a really good golf team, won conference championships, a national championship, and enjoyed myself there. But then also with that, being selected and inducted into my College Hall of Fame, things that I never would have thought possible, things that I never even had on my radar, all because I was introduced and exposed to a game that was foreign to a skinny black kid from the projects. But once I got involved and once I started believing in me, because others believed and poured into me, then it became, within my reach. And I was able to do pretty decent.
I appreciate you taking the time to chop it up with me and speak to resilience and the importance of just moving the needle forward. That's what it's about. Mental health motivation. We out here trying to build resilient minds. So you heard it best, right? So remember what I say. Knowledge is power, but shared knowledge is more powerful. And perseverance is the key to overcoming all adversity. So never give up. No matter what life throws at you, keep your feet moving, focus on the solution, and let success be the goal. I'm Cody Martin, signing out. Never give up. Thank you, brother.